Good morning and welcome to this week's episode of the Last Night's Game podcast. Congratulations. You showed up. You've made it. We are here. Today, we're going to do things a little bit differently. We're going to talk through the true crimes of Ryan Wedding. Most Olympians leave the games and go pro or go back to college or build a brand around their athletic career. But Ryan Wedding, well, he didn't. In 2002, he competed in the Winter Olympics in the men's parallel giant slalom, and he finished 24th. He was still an Olympian, still elite. But fast forward, where federal prosecutors now allege that Wedding helped move hundreds of kilograms of cocaine across international borders, operating under aliases like El Jefe, and he was connected to violent retaliation killings. His name has been mentioned alongside drug lords like El Chapo and Pablo Escobar, from shredding powder on the slopes to allegedly distributing powder on the streets. So here's the question. How does someone go from representing their country at the Olympics to running an alleged international drug enterprise? Here to join me to talk about that is my co-host, Scott. Scott, welcome to the podcast. And when you first read this story, what was the moment that made you think, wait, what?
I think everything you just mentioned, right? He was the king of powder. And
Still
going
is.
from elite athlete to this drug kingpin that seems only a movie could, have the script of.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the first thing I went to was the brain that made Ryan Wedding so good at going fast downhill at extreme speeds, obviously translated to the ability to go into the drug world and make it to the top in ruthless fashion.
Right. I mean, both are calculated risks, and it just looks a little different and a little more illegal one way.
A little more illegal, yes.
Now, I want to start us off because Ryan Wedding was this golden boy, right? He's a Canadian snowboarder. He made the Canadian national snowboarding team at 15 years old, and not someone you probably pegged to have his life turn out the way it did. Talk to us a little bit about this golden boy in his early life.
Child prodigy, making the Canadian national team at age 15, which I'm sure every Canadian, you're kind of a hero at that point, right? Making
Mm-hmm.
making it to Winter Olympics, won junior medals as, a young teenager. And he grew up on the slopes. I think his parents owned the ski slope. He had connections to the Olympic team throughout his entire life. And once you make it to the top, like you ascend all the way to the top of the Olympics after being a prodigy, how do you move forward once it's done?
Right. He was bound.
It's quite the psychology experiment.
Right. He was bound to make it somewhere along the line,
Mm-hmm.
purely because of his pedigree in the ski world.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he competed internationally, which maybe, in all fairness, may have helped him later on in his secondary career. But he had those
lots of people abroad.
There you go. He had his junior world championships, and he competed in the Winter Olympics in 2002, which, yes, was a long time ago. But when it all wraps up with a bow here at the end, talk to me first. He competed in the men's parallel giant slalom. We have just gone through the Olympics. Giant slalom. Can you explain that to me first? So that way everyone can kind of just get a mental picture of what he did.
It's two competitors racing down the mountain as fast as possible on snowboards. So it's like a 1-versus-1 competition.
Okay, yes.
Whoever gets down fastest wins. So that brain right there tells you that there's something missing there that has the fear factor that maybe you and I have, that would not want to go down the mountain at 90 miles an hour racing someone at extreme speeds with high risk and danger at every moment.
Right. There is something, it's kind of like, I'm blanking on his name, the guy who just climbed the building on Netflix, the one in Taiwan.
Alex.
Yes, Alex. Like, he talks about how he does not have a fully developed activated frontal lobe, which is where you have your reasoning, you have your rationale. He basically does not have the fear operation that you and I have. And so you would assume that either you, as an elite athlete of the dangerously things that these Winter Olympians do, downhill skiing at 80, 90 miles an hour with only you and a helmet, and now they wear those little airbag things, but you were wearing Lycra and a helmet. So that there's something different about their brains than ours. And he was competing, but he finished 24th. So did not, I don't know how big the group was, but he didn't have a medal, but he was still an Olympian. He was still an elite athlete. He still trained to be there. He qualified to be there. And it really is interesting because, we talk about these elite athletes often have higher risk tolerance, reduced fear response, faster reaction processing. And such an advantage in extreme sports. But what happens when a brain is no longer wired for this regulated outlet?
There's no outlet to satisfy that need to be in extreme danger at all times. The human brain looks for conflict, right?
Hmm.
We find that in everyday life. If you have nothing to do, your brain will start searching for problems to solve that don't exist. So if you have this brain that doesn't even have that receptor, it's going to look for something to do in extreme fashion. And some people found it in dealing drugs.
It's true. Well, and it's really interesting too. You come from a regimented lifestyle, right?
Hmm.
It's very much like a military in a sense of you have training every single day. You have intense workouts every single day. You're physically demanding. So therefore you've got this routine. You have all this stuff. Someone's telling you where to be, what to do, what to eat, all the things. And you're training to this level. And so when you come off of that, what do you do? I mean, that begs the question on a grander scale, the psychological training that is given to these elite athletes when they come out of their what they normally do, right? You look at NFL players, I mean, anybody, not just a winter Olympian, not just an Olympian. Do they have what it takes to really come back and assimilate more or less back to a quote unquote normal life? I think that's probably why you see a lot of people go into broadcasting and
Hmm.
things like that because it still allows them to be around the rush of the sport, have a reason to be there, but have that routine as well.
And you see like the big names like a Lindsey Vonn or Simone Biles who can transition and get into the booth and talk about it. Or Sean White, like we saw him on all over the Olympics, and he's
Mhm.
prolific snowboarder and skateboarder, so he did both. So he's searching for something to keep that going. So there's certainly not that training once you get done. What do you do? There's no real answer, especially like for an Olympian where you train for 4 years to go down the mountain twice, right? And then
Call it a
we'll train
day.
your entire life. Yeah. So
Mhm.
I don't think there's a good answer to how do you get these people from that high level to a normal life. So no.
Right, right, and when you exit the military, there's training for that because you do have to really learn to plan your own day and all those things, and so I'm curious, it's a really, really, interesting thought. A couple years after the Olympics in 2008, he was arrested with a conspiracy charged with conspiracy to possess and distribute cocaine, and then he was released in December of 2011 after spending some time, locked up. So this was the first arrest, toe into the water, and here we have
And
it.
I just circle back real quick. We should mention like after the Olympics, I think this all started. He became a bouncer at like a nightclub.
Got it.
And from there, I think that's where you see that people are making tons of money or the power you might have distributing this to people, and that kind of fulfills those needs. So all leads point to that is where this all started. And that's what led eventually that's where he got arrested, trafficking stuff up there to Vancouver, I believe.
Interesting, and this is I mean, the indictment states that, like, this is where his criminal enterprise began.
Yes. Yes. I think there's that quote from Blow. I don't know if you've seen it recently where he gets sent to prison. He's a notorious drug dealer, gets sent to prison. And he said he went in there with like a bachelor's degree and came out with a master's in drug dealing.
Right, I've
All,
never seen the
all that
movie,
you
but it
meet,
makes
all,
sense.
oh, yeah. It's just you're supposed to get reformed, but then you just meet all these different people from all walks of life that are in there for similar reasons and all these odd brains in one little area. And I'm sure that's where he probably met a lot of his co-conspirators or got connected.
Learn some best practices, if you will.
Yeah, yeah, and learn how not to get caught probably too.
This is true. Well, eventually he did, this
Mhm.
year in he was caught. I mean, they were saying that he was bringing in hundreds of kilograms, billions of dollars worth of cocaine on a daily
Yes,
basis into, Mexico, through Southern California, up into Canada, and he distributed it into, like I said, Canada, US cities, and he had quite the operation. I mean, he had multiple aliases. I mean, he's been at this for a long time, right? El
yes.
Jefe, these are actually aliases. I wonder if he picked them himself. El Jefe,
Can you
Giant.
pick your own alias? Like, you
I don't
can't
know
pick
if
your own
maybe if it
nickname,
was
right?
Giant, I don't know. Are you like, "Guys,
Okay.
I'm gonna
Yeah,
be." Maybe that was his bouncer name, Giant.
giant. Yeah.
James Conrad King, Jesse King. It blows my mind that he has figured out how to put this together. I mean, you kind of talked to me a little bit about like there are 35 people that were also indicted as part
Mhm.
of this. Like this broke down a huge drug ring. He was
Massive.
on the
So
FBI.
yeah, and there's multinational drug ring, Mexico, US, Canada, and they're like an elite level of, you know, businesses that probably weren't even businesses that funneling money through in Canada and the US and Mexico.
I mean, he was on the FBI's top 10 most wanted list.
Mhm.
I mean, this guy was I mean, the guy, I guess you would say, and like you said, maybe he's because he doesn't have that fear, maybe he didn't have a fear of getting caught. I mean,
Probably not. Yeah, once you get arrested once and you get out at that point,
yeah,
just go
I
for it.
mean well,
It's the
and it's
equivalent
also
of going down the mountain for a gold medal at this point.
right.
Yeah.
And I read somewhere it talked about how, and we'll talk about sort of the where it really went downhill to at some point, but he was committing, and ordering people's, putting bounties on people's witnesses' heads and things like that because then he
Mhm.
thought if he took out the witness, it would all just go away. And so it's fascinating to think that that same brain that allowed him to race down the hill to go for gold has allowed him to think that he can contrive this and make this story his own and like handle it and manipulate it where that isn't the case.
Is not the case, and we've seen many movies where this happens and eventually catches up to you, but in the moment, they're,
Seems like a good idea.
ruthless and untouchable, and eventually you won't be untouchable.
That's true, like, we've all made
I
decisions
mean,
that
El Chapo, and maybe once he got arrested, this is where
he thrived.
Giant took over, really, probably. I think it was maybe
Yeah,
the same cartel. So,
yeah. I mean, it's fascinating to me, like, how this all just I can't even imagine and, you and I make decisions, sometimes that are just the best decisions we can make with all the information we have at that moment, but they're
mhm,
typically not illegal decisions, and
typically not,
so
no.
typically not. I mean, maybe speeding or something, right?
Yeah, no, would never admit to that.
But so when they arrested him, the amount of people impacted, the assets that they seized from the 35 individuals and from Wedding himself were just astronomical.
Yeah, he wasn't trying to hide anything with his, vast array of things that they confiscated, like, what, $40,000 in motorcycles.
Right.
Uh, I think the big one, which seems like, a red flag, was a very rare Mercedes valued at $13 million with only 6 made ever. So he had one of those in his repertoire, and I think that was part of, a luxury car, like, rental that was one of his businesses that they were funneling money through. So, yeah, there's only 6 made in the world, so it seems like maybe a red flag.
You would think you're trying to blend
Mhm.
in theory, right? You're trying to maybe should try to be a tiny bit under the radar, but
Yeah.
apparently not.
No, no, I was reading that I guess Drake tried to buy one of these cars and wasn't able to, so that gives you the level of I mean, he's Canadian as well, so, that kinda gives you the level of what it takes to buy one of these things to get vetted. And if you ever bought a house, you know the nonsense you have to go through with paperwork and, you know, statements and things like that, so I can't even imagine how you pull that off with legitimizing buying one of 6 cars.
Well, Drake, guess what? I bet you could buy this car from the federal government and then you might have to wait a year or 2, but
Mhm.
I bet it's gonna be available for auction at some point.
Yeah, and there was one in 2023 auctioned at 10.2 million. Drake could probably get a deal off of it.
That's insane. And the fact that it was a 2002, which was a year he competed
Mhm.
in the Winter Olympics, I'm sure there's the
Yes.
psychology of how all that ties together of your failure per se, and now you're
Should a
now you're
lot of ego went into buying that specific car. Yes.
yes. So the drug dealing was bad,
Mhm.
but it definitely became worse with the violence, and that's from what I read for what he's been
Mhm.
arrested for. The murders, alleged murders, the
Yes.
big exclamation point on what he's charged with. I mean, he's charged with shooting a federal witness in a restaurant, or he ordered the shooting of a federal witness in a
Yes.
restaurant. He placed a bounty on a person's head in the mistaken belief like, his case wouldn't continue, as we talked about. I mean, and these are killings not just, in Mexico, these are in Canada.
Yes. Horrific, actually, very horrific and tragic. One of them, they was a mistaken identity, and the people were just renting the house of the person he was going after, allegedly.
Mm.
And it ended up not even being that person. It was just a family renting the house, allegedly. So, yeah, I mean, that's what happens. That's, the ruthlessness is on full display there.
Oh, wow. I did not know that, and I mean,
Yes.
he's directing killings in 2023, murder tied to
Hmm.
drug debt. I mean, the list will probably continue to unfold as this case continues to unfold and we find out more information that comes available as he goes to trial and the
Yes.
FBI starts to unveil little bits and pieces. But it's
I'm sure that was
absolutely
going to take a long time.
when you have 35 people wound up in it, in addition to
Yeah.
yourself, they're spending a lot of time using your associates against you. Like Tommy DeMorzy, who was arrested in Newark, he had been hiding in the Dominican before his capture, and so he's I'm sure they're using him and along with everybody else against Wedding to really pin him. So he and but then they don't put him in. Is it El Chapo? Which one's in the American jail? El Chapo,
Chapo, yeah.
Escobar. All of them, I think, are. So all I know about El
But
Chapo is his hippos.
is hippos? Yes.
Hippos, he had the hippos at his compound to
Hmm.
get people in the moat.
And then they end up like breeding, and now there's like a massive hippo population, and they're
There's
extremely
a
destructive because of this an
100% because of
unforeseen circumstance of drug dealing.
yes, the hippos. The hippos are now
Hippos will take over.
an issue. Yes. See, I mean, there's the ripple effect of your
Yes.
bad choices are everywhere. As we kind of wrap this up, because it's not wrapped up with a bow, this case is not over, it's
Mhm.
not complete, it's really only just begun. Is there anything that we need to know as we talk through this and we use this as a conversation starter in conversation with people, happy hour? I mean, what's something so that we're missing? What did I miss?
I think we covered a lot, and there's so many different conversations you can have off just this one case, right? The psychology of an athlete, the psychology of, retirement. Everyone has to retire at some point, and if you retire, when you're extremely young and maybe didn't reach the pinnacle, how do you move forward, um, and still fulfill your dreams? Some people retire at 75 and don't know what to do. So when you retire early
Mhm.
at mid 20s, where do you go from there? Maybe we
Right,
need
and
like
it's a
a
really
reintroduction program for the Olympics for these
yeah.
national teams to get them
Well, I
into
mean, we've
jobs that don't involve,
yeah,
drug dealing and killings.
yes, and I mean, that's really the thing as we watched the Olympics wrap,
Hmm.
and you see these athletes who are performing in their last Olympics, and they really talk about, it's like, what's next for
Hmm.
them? Not everybody is a Megan Rapinoe or a Sue Bird who can leave their careers and turn it into something else, and not everyone's in that capacity,
Hmm.
and so it's really interesting to think about that and what that looks like.
Maybe we start the athlete reintroduction program
I think I'm here for it.
sponsored by last night's game.
I'm
An
here for it.
internship.
There you go, an internship. Come
Yes.
hang out with us.
Better than drug dealing.
Well, thank you. And some athletes become commentators and some open businesses and some quietly go home. And Ryan Wedding, well, he allegedly built an empire, not on snow, but on cocaine. Maybe that was the most unsettling part. He wasn't reckless. He was organized. And that's what makes this whole story so chilling. Thanks for sharing
Yes.
your insights with us today, Scott.
Thank you.